having some technical difficulty, but we still must go forward. We've been starting the sermon series called Falling Skies. Who watches that TV show on TV besides me, Mike Rajkosh? Ron. Nobody else, huh? So the pastor of this church is a nerd, and it's okay. I like action, I like science fiction stuff, I like sport. A lot of the stuff you'll see happen to me in the genre things that I like. But the main point I'm trying to make is that we as Christians are currently in war. And we're trying to focus on the theme in the last day. So if you have a Bible, you can open up to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. Sorry about the projector on that side over there. I was tempted to say everybody scoot over there. We did not. You know, growing up, I had a desire always to be a warrior, a soldier. I remember right before I signed my college letter of intent, I received a letter from West Point, and the other one from the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. And it was actually a challenge for me to decide which school to go to. As you may know, I had an opportunity to go into several colleges across the country. I was a blue chip All-American football player, and as a result, I could almost go to any school I wanted to except for Notre Dame, a school that rejected me. You notice there was some issue with my tone. Yes, they rejected me. It's still there. After all these years, I need to work on forgiveness, made of Satan, made of Satan, I know. But nevertheless, when those two letters came, one from the military academy, Army, and from the Naval Academy, to me it was like, okay, this is my destiny. I grew up wanting to be a soldier. Even to this day, I have some reservations not going into the military. I feel like there would have been a lot of opportunities for me if I had pursued that career. I didn't understand all the implications, the pros and cons of going into the military. I know I liked Rambo, and I like Commando. For those who don't know those movies, they're very important to our history as a country. Actually, before the service today, I was sliding under here, helping try to set up the equipment with all those guys who came. Thank you, Mike Rajkosh, for setting this stuff up this morning. And Pastor Bashan referenced to me as Rambo because I was climbing the cave, and Rambo did the same thing. Even though I'm going down a rabbit trail, there's a point to the rabbit trail. I wanted to be a warrior. And my challenge with being a Christian was I thought that was antithetical to being a warrior. I didn't understand what it meant to fight for Jesus Christ. I didn't know how a Christian was required to fight. What were my responsibilities? Who would I report to? How should I respond tactfully and strategically to each situation? What assignments would the Lord give me? So I was in the mindset as I left NFL going into my Christian ministry that I would still be a warrior, but I could never fit in what I thought a warrior was in comparison to what God thought a warrior should be. We are in the last days. In our sermon series, we're trying to address the heart of the human on the last day. You know, we could get into a lot of eschatological discussions regarding the end times. I can tell you all to pick out one Left Behind novel and read it, and we'll come and discuss our eschatological beliefs. But those are important. But what is more important is, what is the condition of your heart in the last day? The scriptures are littered with examples regarding what the condition of the human heart looked like in the times preceding the return of Christ. If you are a believer in Jesus Christ, you know and understand the days are getting short. Last week, I hope it was last week, if my memory serves me right, I tried to express this point. Live as though Jesus Christ is coming tomorrow. And live as though Jesus Christ is coming in 1,000 years. The church throughout history has made the mistake in trying to focus on one day and one time when they thought Jesus Christ was coming. Y2K. Now I think it's I'm not going to ask David this time, but we think it's September, either the 15th or the 27th of this year, whether it's Yom Kippur or the last blood moon, that Jesus Christ is coming back. You know, this is the last of the 4 beloved that are coming. It's great for a discussion. You can actually get lost in that discussion. The problem is about church history, whenever they focused on a particular date, they stopped doing the work of the ministry. People sold everything they had. Houses, true, clothes, cars, because they said, Jesus is coming back. And there were church folk who stood on hills and said, we're going to wait. This is the time, the second coming. And because of that, not only did we mess out a lot of ministry opportunity, but we lost a lot of credibility in the eyes of the world. So I'm trying to say, be circumspect. For why? These are the last days. The last days started when Jesus Christ was resurrected from the dead. Now, it's been 2,000 years, but we're still in the last days. But regardless, what is your responsibility as a believer in the last days? We should be more enthusiastic than ever before. Why? Because these are exciting times. There are signs in the heavens, literally, that say this is the season. Jesus is coming. We know that. Every single second I speak, Jesus is closer to coming. He may come before I finish this, but he may not. I'm sorry. The reality of it is, yes, he's coming back. And it will be an awesome day. Last week we talked about being ready. Live in a way that honors Jesus Christ. Today we're going to talk about the condition of your heart in the last days. Why is that important? Because it is my belief that from your heart, your whole life is determined. Everything about you is determined because of the condition of your heart. So I realized as I got older, my particular army unit in God's army is the army of the heart. So my job is to focus on your heart. Who here has been hurt? Don't raise your hand. Jordan. If you've been hurt, how did you respond to the pain? I said the Jordan. Did you shut your heart off from people? Did you say, I'm never going to get hurt again? We live in a time, and hopefully I'll freely talk about certain issues that are taboo, where race is now an important issue once again in our country. You can't be afraid to talk about it. And as a believer, I'm here to say the issue of race is just a distraction from the issue of the human heart. Racism will not be eradicated until the return of Jesus Christ. We are in a financial problem. People told me I have not talked about money enough, but believe me, money is coming. But we haven't talked about it a lot. But it's a condition of the human heart. Do you trust God with your money? Do you trust God with your time? Do you trust God with your talent? And if you're unwilling to trust God with your money, are you even trusting God at all? Sometimes God seems untrustworthy. You can say, hey, I'm going to give my money to that ministry, and then what? 2 years from then you realize the ministry is corrupted and I wasted my money. Do you trust God? I'm not saying we're going to do anything with your money. I'm just trying to say, regardless of where you give your money, make sure your heart is right. And that God ultimately is the one you're giving your money to. Is my microphone okay to everybody? How do you fight this war? You fight it by trusting God. You're going to get hurt in your heart. You're going to go through trials and tribulations. But in order to win this war, you have to win the battle over yourself. I remember we were playing the Green Bay Packers. I was playing for the Vikings, and Coach Green was pointing to everybody saying, do you have your man? And everybody was getting fired up and they were trying to motivate us. We're like, yeah, I got my man. Coach Green said they had Mike Over. I got my man. And he was cussing, so it made him more excited at the time. I won't do it here. I can't repeat that in church. But he was like, I got my man. Do you have your man? What I'm trying to tell you today is, do you have your man? Do you have your woman? First and foremost, win the battle over yourself. We are in the end, almost at the sexual revolution, where people are having promiscuous sex before marriage. And now, sexuality has become some of our identities. God created sex to be something beautiful, to benefit, to add to our marriage. But people don't trust God enough to do it His way. You have your man. You have your woman. We live in a time where people don't trust each other, don't trust the government. With all this mistrust and distrust, are you willing to trust God? You may say to me, Pastor, I'm struggling trusting myself. And I'd be like, you're right. That's what the Bible says. But there's one who has overcome the world. And if you allow him to, he can help you overcome yourself. The challenge is, will you allow him in? Will you get close enough to Jesus Christ where he'll change your heart? There's only one man I know here on this universe, in this planet, I would say the planet, in the world, who has ever existed, that you can wholly trust. And that's Jesus Christ. He's always kept his word. He's always faithful. We live in a time where people are destroying their families. They don't even care. They're destroying their future and don't even know it. God has made all things well. But if you don't trust him, it's impossible to live a life that brings him honor. It's impossible for you to win your war. I wanted to be a warrior for God, as I said. And I realized that my unit is the heart. I'm in the MASH. I didn't like MASH, but that's where I am. And it's my focus here at Endurance Church to do one thing, to get you to trust God. We can talk about economics. We can talk about politics, sociology, anthropology. We can talk about a variety of things. But I realize that if we can focus on a human, if we allow the Holy Spirit to break through those hurts, those hang-ups, and those habits that have been knocking us off track, then you can trust God. If you trust God, all things are possible. So I'm fighting. I fight in the MASH unit. How do you fight for God? Do you realize you're in the midst of a war? That you're in the last days? We didn't ask to come here. And we're here now. And God has requirements for our life. There are a lot of distractions, obstacles, and temptations. There's a lot of reasons, literally, to leave the fight. But God asks you to stand and live in a way that brings him glory and honor. He cares about who you marry, what you do with your finances, who you talk to, where you spend your time. He cares about what you watch on TV, because I believe all those different dynamics play on one particular point. Are you trusting God? I currently am 40 years old and I have a mohawk. And I have a mohawk not just because of my sons, but I'm trying to convey that I believe I'm a warrior for God. Now it's very silly, but I'll wear superhero shirts to try to teach my kids that I want them to be looked up to be superheroes. Everything I do, regardless of how insignificant it's been thought through. Now, my thoughts may not be the best thoughts, but my intentions are good. But ultimately, my goal for my children is to get them to trust God, to be a hero, to be his warrior. And that's my hope for you. The Church of Endurance is a church of trusting God, despite the pain, the struggle, the privilege, and the pleasure. Despite ups and downs, God's people, God's warriors have always been defined by their trust in the Lord. We have people here today that can stand up and give their testimonies of how they've had to trust God despite difficult circumstances. That their testimony could be far more effective than any words that could come out of my mouth. Maybe one day we'll get to that point. But there are people in here today who are trusting God right now in the middle of a storm. And that gives God great pleasure. If you're trusting God, you're fighting for God. If you're trusting God, you're God's warrior. God asks us to fight. Trusting Him. Let me pray real quick. Father God, in the short time I have, I ask you to speak through me, touch people's hearts. Lord God, despite the malfunctions with the equipment, despite my stuttering or whatever happens, Lord, in my mouth, I ask you, Lord God, to send your Holy Spirit. We need you, Lord. I pray, Lord God, that we'll be a church that shines on you. I pray, Lord God, our families will be made stronger. I pray, Father God, that we'll hold fast to your promises, your truths. I pray, Father God, that even though we're saved, we continue to seek after you. I pray, Father God, that we have the desire and you alone are our exceedingly great reward. Father God, I pray we have the mentality that you are enough. In Jesus' name. Amen. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 8 says this: there's a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. This came from King Solomon, the richest and wisest human being that ever lived on the earth. It's so funny. King Solomon in the book of Proverbs wrote these platitudes, these proses that were so simple yet so profound. However, you get to Ecclesiastes and he broke almost everything he said in Proverbs. There's a challenge in life. Trusting God. The book of Ecclesiastes is the struggle of a human being trying to find purpose outside of trusting God. He comes to the conclusion, regardless of how wealthy you get, how influential you are, without trusting God, life is meaningless. He said, man, he had everything. And he says, without God, it makes no sense. 2 Timothy chapter 3. Verses 3 through 2, chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. Paul is writing to Timothy, his young protege, his young pastor. And he's trying to give him encouragement. He's trying to give him instruction. Paul is coming to the end of his life. He's about to be beheaded. And he has to encourage Timothy. Just so you know, I'm not saying this will never happen. But if I meet you, I can capture it. I will not be sending encouraging letters to you. Let you know. I'm being honest. I want you to pray for me. I'm not, this is really supposed to be a joke, but it's very true to me. If I'm going to end my life, for me to be encouraging to be difficult. But Paul, the power of God's Spirit, is able to encourage Timothy not to give up. Keep trusting. Because this is the only way. Chapter 3 says, but know this, that in the last days, perilous times will come. The sentence begins with but, just contrasting what was said before that. He's trying to make a particular point here that is expressly stating in the scriptures. And he gives a catalog list of what the perilous time would entail. We've been talking about the last days, as I said. Every single reference here is toward the human heart. In the last days. He didn't say, look for the skies blowing up, or aliens, or monsters, or the temple being rebuilt. He says, Timothy, in the last days, check this out, men will be lovers of themselves. I can stop right there. The Greek expressly kind of communicates without the ability to love. He says in the last days, people won't even be able to love. Why? Because they've been hurt. They've shut their hearts off to God, to man. You know, the first time you start looking at yourself above someone else in a marriage. The first time you start having to care about yourself than your spouse in the marriage is the very moment you become untrustworthy. Dr. Gary Smollett, I'm getting credit for that. In the last days, men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, meaning they attribute something that God does to Satan. Unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control. Somebody made a comment on Facebook, they made the comment that cool, C-O-O-L, I have West Virginia accent, cool is not a fruit of the Spirit, but actually cool is. The word cool originally came from the 60s, where African American men were told to be cool, not to lash out when you're put in a situation or provoked. So they would say, be cool, meaning have self-control. So it actually is the fruit of the Spirit. I know we're going around. I tried hard. I thought about putting it in the sermon. I said, I'm going to do that. Anywho, disobedient to parents. I could stay there all day. These are signs of the last days. He's not talking about the blood moon. He's not talking about the temple being rebuilt or a red heifer. He's not talking about the fall of the economy. He's talking about not being thankful for your parents. Unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure, rather lovers of God. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Having a form of godliness but denying its power, and from such people turn away. A brief caveat before we jump into the point. This is the last days. Where is Paul getting his information from? I mean, is the Holy Spirit directly depositing this information in Paul's database? And he's processing it, analyzing it, and then give us this information right here for us to read. I believe the scriptures are clear what the last days will look like. It says, just as in the days of Noah, that's what the days will be before the coming of the Son of Man. God had to flood the world because humanity had become so corrupt. Paul is just pulling, extracting from the text this information. He's looking in the past, the precedent that was set and saying, this is what it will be like before Jesus returns. During that day, people only cared about themselves. That is vindication that Christ is on his way. He ends saying that from these people turn away. He was referring here to teachers. But we can actually take from that and know this will be the condition of a human heart before Jesus comes back. Not just for the preachers or teachers who are saying, I'm not going to listen to them, but for ourselves. See, my challenge has been, as I've been in my Christian walk, how do I grow? I've often looked in the mirror and I've been like, yes, I like what I see. Mirror. But I don't like how I am. I oftentimes make mistakes and I'm like, what am I doing? I find myself to be selfish, unloving, unthankful. I find myself not trusting God today. As we were preparing for the service, I would say, oh, we're not going to get this done. Not knowing God is the one who's in control, not me. I find myself talking about people. I repent later. I find myself making so many mistakes. I'm like, am I even right with the Lord? What I think is that very fact that you can acknowledge that you're making a mistake, that is the indication you are on the right path. The Bible says, judge yourself, lest you be judged. But it gives the caveat, you have the responsibility to judge yourself. I know when I'm off with God, not just when I'm not doing my devotions and not praying. I know I'm off with God when I'm doing stuff and I'm not even thinking about my motivation before I did it. I remember a time when I was much younger in my faith and I was married, and I got out the car and I saw a young female on this side of the car. And I got out and I'm walking toward the girl. And I'm like, why is my body going this way? I'm a married man. I'm a sinner. I find myself looking at stuff I shouldn't even look at. And I'm like, how did I get here? Help me, Lord. I shouldn't watch that Terminator movie. I shouldn't have. But I did. But the fact that I'm critical of my behavior is a sign I'm on the right path. I want to be married to my wife, love my wife. I want to be a good steward of my finances. I want to be a good pastor, a good brother, a good husband, a good son. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a mentor, a leader, a guide, a counselor. I want to be those things. But if I looked at every single mistake I made and thought because I was making the mistakes I'm disqualified, none of us would be in God's kingdom. But what's the balance? Are you even critiquing your motivations? Before I left the house, I actually, now this is going to be a stretch, I thought about what I was going to wear to church. You notice I don't have a suit and a tie. I don't have crocodiles on or ostrich shoes. I have a black jeans. I didn't think too hard about that. I'm sorry, but I was sliding under the stage. If I'd have thought through more thoroughly, I probably would have worn blue jeans. But even how I dress should be critiqued because I'm communicating something through my dress. Now I'm telling my wife she buys all my shirts, and if you thought my shirt is too tight, it's her fault. Thank you, Lord. She buys my clothes. I'm here to say I'm sorry. I'm bad. Like I'm not. I'm marked. This is my mark. My marriage mark. Some guys they shop for themselves. My wife does that for me. But I even judge my motivations regarding what I put on. I know some shirts are tighter. I don't put Under Armour on before I come to church. What am I doing that? Who am I trying to impress? God is looking at our hearts, and that's where He judges us. Are you judging your own heart? That's where the front lines of the war is. I can't discover what you're all doing in every single area of your lives, but you know. You can judge your own motivation. Why you go to this church? Why you go to that church? Why you pick this car? Why you live in this house? Why does it have to be this big house? Why does it have to be this neighborhood? Why does it have to be this car? I'm going to continue to tell myself. As you see, I'm riding my dad's car around recently. For those in the church I know, the cars we have are older, have rust on it. But my dad's car doesn't have rust. It goes 160. I love driving my dad's car. After church, I'm going to leave and pick up my other son from Indianapolis. My dad's car is awesome. And I remember, I'm telling myself, when I got in my dad's car, I was like, I sit up a little higher in my seat because my CRV has a big rust on one side and my Expedition has a big hole on the other. And I was so thankful when I got those cars because they didn't have any payments on them. I'm like, thank you, Lord, for the free car. But when my dad let me drive his Acura, I was like, ooh. And I pushed the seat down, go all the way back, and I leaned back. Yes. Now, I'm trying to look at everybody who's driving beside me. They look at me in the car. Oh, pray for me. This is what the Lord did for me. This is how your Lord helped me get delivered I was coming up here, I was pulling out the gas station, and a car came flying 80 miles an hour down a 40 mile an hour street. My kids in the back. I had a decision to make. Either we get T-boned, or I back into this car behind me. So what did I do? Reverse. I have there's a camera, you can see where you're going, right? And I saw, I ran into the car behind me. I didn't want to get hit from the side. My dad's pretty car was wrecked. And I did it. Now you know what happened to me at that point? When I was driving after that, I wasn't sitting as high in the car. I wasn't trying to look who's looking. I was not trying to look at anybody. Like, oh, got this dent in this car. Oh, it doesn't look pretty like it was. Forget it. Finally, we got the dent fixed. After I got it fixed, I'm driving in the car on the highway. I'm sitting up in the seat again. I'm just telling myself, and all of a sudden, this rock from the semi comes and hits the windshield. And I'm like, oh. But why was I driving this car? Burning my dad's gas and oil. I still have a long way to go. But we all do. But the reality of it is, at least I realize I'm on. Do you know when you're on? Let's look at the point. Currently, our behavior counts no more than ever before. That's what you need to know. Now, I'm not saying you need to be perfect. We already talked about this. But there are other people looking at your life. And I'm not telling you to do good work so they see you doing good works. I'm saying, look at your motivation. And eventually, if you look at your motivation enough, your behavior will become better. See, everything I say is about getting you in your relationship with God. Trust Him. If I were to ask this question, how many people here have spent time reading the Bible this week? Don't raise your hand. Today we have the Bible, which we can read, the Bible on CD, we have the visual Bible, we have the Bible on our iPhones and iPads. We have access to God's Word consistently. We live in the information age. It's there for you. Are you spending time with God? Because if you spend time with God, association brings assimilation. And the more you spend time with Him, the more you act like Him. This is why your behavior is important. Not because they see you doing good things, because they see Jesus Christ in you. That's how we witness. See, our obedience to Christ is how we fight. I used to think, man, I'd lift weights, get stronger, and I was going to learn MMA. I thought about it. I was going to do MMA, and I said, yeah, if anybody comes to this church, we got Nick. We got Nick back there, the Marine. So you say hi to Nick. He's back there. So we got big, tough guys in here, and people feel safe in this church. Because the pastor knows MMA. We got Nick. Man, that's not how you fight for God. Get on your knees. Pray. Trust God. You know, I remember when people were slandering my name, talking about me negatively. And I went to try to go fight for my reputation. Because my reputation is what I thought would bring people to God. And God said, trust me with your reputation. And I'm like, what? You don't mean I gotta fix it? So now when people talk about me negatively, just pray for them. I trust God to fix my reputation. Because in His dynamics and what He sees, if I try to do it my way, I'll get my conclusion. If I trust God and do it His way, He'll get glory. How are you fighting this war? So you need to devote more time with God so that His ways will become your ways. You know what? I used to spend a lot of time with people in my past. And I didn't realize that their behavior became my behavior. We began to know each other and figure each other out. I could read their mind, they could read my mind, and they spoke, and I finished their sentence, they finished my sentence. And eventually I realized, man, I had to cut those people off because they were leading me in the wrong direction. So instead of hanging around people, I started turning on the TV. And then I began to know what they were going to do in the TV. Their behavior became my behavior. They would say something, I finished their sentence, and I know them so well. And I said, wait a minute, I got to turn this off. So I said, I turned to sports. I said, wait a minute, I got to turn this off. I had to spend time with God for my family's, for my future. I need to spend time with God. And when life happened, I would realize this is how God would complete this sentence. When he ebbed, I wanted to ebb. When he flowed, I wanted to flow. But if you don't spend time with God, how do you claim to know him, to know his ways? God doesn't always do the same thing every way. That's why I try never to say, this is how God is going to move in your life. Because I don't know. The Bible is littered with experiences of God doing something one way for one person and doing it completely opposite for somebody else. The one unifying factor with all the people who you see living for God is they trust him and they obey his word. To live a life that would attract people to worship your God. I don't know what you need to do in order to bring people to God. But I do know one thing. People know when you spend time with God. I talk about it often jokingly when I left the Vikings. I remember the next day I was cut. And I was on the street of Hennepin before they built it up. And I was street preaching on the street of Hennepin Avenue. And I'm preaching, I'm telling people about, I'm not telling anybody you need to do this, trust me. I'm telling something about Jesus Christ, and people are coming up to me, and the Viking team happened to be at the restaurant that was right there, and they ran to the window, flocked. Those people who were still on the team. And they were like, Anthony is crazy. Oh, look at him, let's take pictures. But I was out there for Jesus. I'm not telling you to go to Hennepin and preach. I'm saying that's what I was asked to do. Now, I couldn't defend myself. I don't know what they said about me in the locker room. I don't know anything about how they look at me to this day. But I know I'll be God. God in his wisdom bring things into full circle. You can trust him through the process. Sometimes I thought the point of his life was to point to me and say, look at me. This is how I want you to live your life like me. I realize that's not what God wants me to do. God wants me to tell you, look at him. Spend time with him. He knows the answers. Trust him. Pick up your Bible. Pray. In doing that, you will get God's will for your life. That's how you fight for God. Last point. You help God win the war when you win the battle yourself. It's your battle. I'm still fighting my man. I think last week Anthony won, but this week Anthony's going to win. Now, sometimes Anthony wins, but the other time Anthony wins. And I'm sure God's going to help Anthony. But, man, it's a tough fight. It's learning how to not be like yourself, but to be like Jesus Christ. God is so worthy of every single desire you have. He's worthy to be trusted. He's worthy to spend time with. When you spend time with God, then you will see. It's almost like an acquired taste. That if I come up here Sunday and I preach about God, I open up the Bible. If this is the first time you're hearing about God this week, this will sound like a shrill horn. And you'll be like, when is this guy going to get done talking? But for those of you who have been in your word, you know, that was part of my Bible study. Or that scripture was in my devotion. And you'll begin to hear God's voice for yourself. My job is just to lead you to Jesus Christ. And your job will be to lead others to Jesus Christ. What about the political issues? What about economics? What about my future? What about 401k? Trust Jesus Christ. It is our hope here in this church that we can provide you the opportunity to learn how to steward your finances, how to remain faithful to your spouse, how to take your time and go on mission trips, how to reach out to the community. We hope to help you become better parents, to be more active in politics and all these different aspects of life. We want you to be the best in the marketplace. Some people here will be multi-millionaires, and some people here will not. But regardless of whether you're rich or poor, and you're here in this church, my hope is you understand trusting Jesus Christ is the key.